Welcome to Creepypasta Theater, a show where we explore the strange world of creepypasta. Join us as we hear tales best left untold, travel roads best left unexplored, and see sights best left unseen. The most merciful thing in the world, I think, is the inability of the human mind to correlate all its contents. We live on a placid island of ignorance in the mists of black seas of infinity, and it was not meant that we should voyage far. The sciences, each straining in its own direction, have hitherto harmed us little. But someday, the piecing together of disassociated knowledge will open up such terrifying vistas of reality and of our frightful position therein that we shall either go mad from the revelation or flee from the light into the peace and safety of a new dark age. H.P. Lovecraft. It seems appropriate to start this episode with this quote, as today we will be hearing 3 stories about outer space. These tales can be found on creepypasta.fandom.com and are protected by Creative Commons license. Red Moon. Written by Avenging Angel. On July 18th, 2020, NASA launched a new vessel. 6 astronauts boarded Goliath 1 and set out to prepare the first human colony on the moon. The preparations were expected to take a year, but the vessel carried 6 months of additional food in case of emergency. Radio communication was possible only on the side of the moon facing the Earth, so astronauts were told to stay in this area to maintain contact. The astronauts had landed on the eastern border of the Serenitatis. The lunar mare was largely covered in basalt and held few craters, making it perfect for colonization. The goal of the astronauts was simple: map the area and blueprint the construction of buildings. The only real danger on the moon was meteors striking it, as it was devoid of any atmosphere. An electronic journal of the day's events was to be sent back to NASA, along with any interesting photos or videos, although it was to be seen if anything exciting could happen. It was the moon, after all. The first few months of journals were fairly normal. The astronauts were right on schedule with the predicted progress. They wasted no time to blueprint the area. Everything in a normal town was to be in the future town: a grocery store, a hospital, a school, among other things. Of course, the supplies would need to be sent by other vessels. It wasn't their mission to build anything. Then, on the 17th of September that year, the daily report did not come. It was speculated that it had been forgotten, but it did not come the next day either. Radio communication was not successful with the astronauts. Attempts were only met with static. The radio tower was seen as working perfectly. It seemed that the astronauts were simply not within range of it. Several missing videos were later recovered from the site. The following is a description of each video. The astronauts were told to label their videos by date, following with numbers if more than one video was recorded that day. The first video was labeled appropriately as September 16th, 2020. It is around 10 minutes long and is mostly spent examining small craters close to the border of the mare. Near the end of the video, the astronaut talks about hearing scratching noises from the crater, but this wasn't audible. The journal sent to NASA for the 16th of September did not mention this noise. The second video is also labeled appropriately as September 17th, 2020. This video is roughly the same length of the previous video and similarly focused around craters, specifically the nearby Bessel crater. This is an exceptionally large crater, over 9 miles across and a mile deep. The plan was to eventually build a bridge across it. The astronauts began to make notes on the crater when the scratching sound is heard again. This time, however, it is quite audible and appears to be coming from the basin of the crater. The sound becomes so loud it begins to irritate the astronauts. One of the men looks down over the edge to find the source. A force unseen by the camera suddenly pulls him into the crater. His screams are heard briefly before the footage is cut short. The third and final video is labeled Code 7700. Please help. The date is unknown, but it can be assumed it is probably from the next day. It begins with an astronaut in an oxygen tent talking to the camera. He explains in a calm voice that he has been unable to contact the radio. It also explains how 2 of the astronauts have been horribly slaughtered. At this point, tears start to roll down his face, but he continues a calm tone. The scratching noise from the previous videos is heard suddenly and sharply. The camera is knocked to an adjacent wall of the tent, and we listen to the astronaut pleading, followed by a heavy thump. The man continues to plead and cry out for help, stating that he can't breathe. The camera is completely turned away from him, so what is attacking him cannot be seen. We see blood begin to splatter the adjacent wall. The man continues to scream for help and is now completely bawling. Blood splatters against the wall for a second time, alongside the sound of bones snapping and flesh being torn from them. His pleas for help suddenly stop and are reduced to just inane screaming and crying. As blood splatters against the wall again, a bit of brown liquid now mixes in with the bright red liquid. The tearing sound has since been replaced with that of squishing and sloshing. The only sound the man makes now is a quiet death rattle. Suddenly, he goes silent, and several of his organs are tossed near the direction of the wall. Coincidentally, the night of September 18th was a red moon. None of the bodies of the astronauts from Goliath 1 were ever fully recovered. Colonization of the moon has been postponed until further notice. The team sent to investigate the radio communication problems the astronauts were having refused to talk to the public. Of the 4-man repair team, 2 have committed suicide since returning to Earth. While the 3 videos were recovered, a photograph was also obtained depicting something that appears to be an insect-like creature. It is still unknown as to what it depicts. Warm skin Cold Heart. Author unknown. The solar system is imagined as planets orbiting the sun on a nearly flat plane. This is either a mistake or a good cover-up. The information you gathered in astronomy most likely came from the following sources: a classroom, a textbook, internet sites, documentaries, or something similar. We can take their word for it because they are rated the highest in logic, and because their theories are agreed upon among all sane people, right? But what is a sane person? These people are highly rated in the science community, the people that pass the information down to us because the government allowed them to. The theories are popular because people are brainwashed into what is distinguished between a conspiracy theorist and a scientist. I always thought the same, that the people we call conspiracy theorists are just pulling it out of their ass. But I now know the truth. There just aren't as many of them that know the truth, and those that do are either killed before they are allowed to convince anyone else, or are mocked by the professionals who are paid to write fiction about the universe to cover up the truth with lies. Ever heard of Project Beyond? Of course you haven't. It's been covered up, removed from history by highly trained professional liars. Project Beyond took place in 1947 by Dr. David Rio, with at least 100 scientists nearby and an even larger crowd of people observing it. The project was actually an experiment done on a man who donated his body to this experiment while he was still alive, but dying from a form of cancer that was not yet revealed. They encased the man in a glass container during his final moments after injecting him with a lethal substance with his consent. It was meant to see if there are any signs of spiritual activity after he died. Almost an hour had gone by after the man had died, and the scientist found nothing. About ready to shut the program down, the thing they wanted to see was not through an X-ray, but by the naked eye. The glass fogged up as if it had suddenly gotten warmer. Quickly, the fog faded and the glass was clear again. A few seconds later, the glass broke. That was evidence for the existence of the soul, but that does not complete my writing. Only a small portion of it. There's a lot more to tell. Astronomers claim to never have seen anything for millions of miles south of our solar system, when in fact, they actually ran into something, and we didn't know about this discovery before it was too late. Our solar system is quite unique compared to all the others we know of. There is an orbit of 9 planets on a relatively horizontal, from our perspective, plane. On the other hand, there is a vertical orbit of 5 planets, one of which supports life. This life came to Earth one day. Nobody's sure how it got here, but we all know why. They travel to different nearby planets to suck the life force, or soul, if you will, out of a living organism. They came to Earth for the same reason. Basically, they go to an organism, and by mere touch they will absorb its soul like a sponge absorbs water. It's clear that they do, by seeing a glowing light transfer from one body to their own. Earth, being one of the most populated planets with various kinds of species, and it being close by, was an obvious choice for them. In fact, it's strange why they didn't come sooner. At first contact, these beasts struck fear into people's hearts. Their hoarse grunting sounds, their deformed shape, their skin-bubbled eyes, they looked very terrifying and had shown themselves to be quite a threat by how they attacked other species. A mere touch killed the animal, and the beasts adopted most of their characteristics and behaviors from that. After 2 years, they still roamed our planet, still having a few species left to invade. But the human fear only lasted for so long before realizing that humans were not their targets. But these beasts would often see a human and be curious. Very curious. But they still couldn't hurt us. They looked at us, wondering why man does not have a soul or a life force like the other species of this planet do. Lunar Outpost 27B. Author unknown. Hello, new recruits. Welcome to Lunar Outpost 27B. My name is Colonel Floyd Pinkerton, and I'm in charge around here. You'll get a more official orientation later on, but I felt that there were a few things that needed to be said right away. The directive of this outpost is the monitoring and research of the crater Phobos, which possesses some strange and unexplainable properties. It's the only crater for miles, so you'll know it when you see it. First off, if you see any astronauts wearing light blue suits, please do not make contact with them. Those old uniforms haven't been commissioned for decades, and we're not sure where they're coming from. Second, please be cautious around the crater. Yes, I know it's the primary purpose of this facility, but we still don't know much about it. So keep your distance, especially between the hours of 700 and 1100, no matter which family members you think you see going into it. We're tired of cleaning up the mess. Next, due to confusion, we're making it very clear that there is no maintenance structure at the outpost. I repeat, there is no maintenance building here. So if you see it, just don't go inside. Speaking of buildings, if you happen to smell what seems to be a combination of burning milk and old grapes while in your quarters, please leave immediately and notify a decontamination squad. Then march yourself down to the nearest first aid center ASAP. Also, while inside, if a food dispenser in the dining hall serves you human fingers, please notify an engineering team. It's not supposed to do that anymore. Let's see here. What's next? Oh, right. We're still trying to find whoever is drawing the weird symbols on the viewing port windows. Not only are they putting everyone on edge, but they're very annoying to wash off. If you see anything suspicious, let a commanding officer know. This is for any of you news comms boys. Any transmission from Outpost 21A should be ignored. Do not listen to what it says, no matter how urgent it seems. If you do happen to listen, first off, that's treason and will be punished as such. But second, we recommend getting checked at the aid station for any cranial growths. We're almost done here. Just a couple more notes. A scan of the surrounding environment has shown us a strange rock structure that seems to move around the area. Until we get a good reading on it, we recommend avoiding it. That being said, if you so happen to have a confrontation with it, a full notes entry would be nice. Finally, the station has 3 alarms. The orange light is for any external issues. Red is for any internal issues. And blue, well, let's hope blue never goes off. Anyway, enjoy your employment on Lunar Outpost 27B. Let's make it a productive day. You have been listening to a presentation of Point of Insanity Game Studio. Visit us on the web at www.poigamestudio.com. Follow me on most social media sites at POI Game Studio. And check out my music channel on YouTube at Al Seeger Music.